Hey mister, are you sad? Don't worry, I have a way to make you happy right now. I glanced up from my newspaper, startled. A small boy stood in front of me, holding out a slightly dented lunchbox with both hands, as if offering me something precious. He couldn't have been older than 6, but he had the confidence of someone twice his size. His bright blue eyes sparkled with a mix of mischief and determination. I frowned. Kid, do I look like I need cheering up? Yes. He nodded without hesitation. I let out a slow breath, folding my newspaper. Shouldn't you be with your parents? They're busy. He shrugged. But you looked lonely, so I brought you lunch. He lifted the lunchbox higher, practically shoving it into my hands. I stared at it, then back at him. You don't even know me. That's okay, he said. My mom says food makes everything better. So eat. I blinked at the boy. I wasn't sure whether to be annoyed, amused, or concerned that some random kid was handing out meals to strangers. I sighed. What's your name, kid? Tommy. He grinned, as if he had just won some unspoken battle. Well, Tommy, does your mom know you're feeding old guys in the park? She told me to be nice to people. He gave me a dull look. And you looked like you needed someone to be nice to you. I opened my mouth, then closed it. There was no arguing with this kid. I looked at the lunchbox again. It was red, decorated with faded superhero stickers peeling at the edges. I sighed, giving in. Fine. I popped it open. Inside was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a juice box, and an apple, one that had a tiny bite mark on it. I raised an eyebrow and held up the apple. You sure this wasn't your lunch? Tommy grinned sheepishly. I had to make sure it was good. I let out a small chuckle, something I hadn't done in a long time. Then, I noticed a folded piece of paper tucked between the sandwich and juice box. I picked it up and opened it. Eat this and smile. I exhaled slowly, something unfamiliar tugging at my chest. It had been years since anyone had made me lunch, let alone left me a note like that. Well, Tommy asked, swinging his legs. Are you smiling yet? I shook my head, but the corners of my mouth twitched. You're a persistent little thing, aren't you? Yep. He beamed. Same time tomorrow? What? I nearly choked. I'll bring you another lunch. He hopped off the bench. See you, mister. And just like that, he ran off, leaving me sitting there with an empty lunchbox and a heart that felt strangely full. The next day, I told myself I wouldn't wait for him. But there I was, sitting on the same bench, pretending to read my newspaper when I caught sight of him running toward me, holding another lunchbox. You're back, I muttered. Of course. Tommy plopped down beside me, shoving the lunchbox into my hands. Today it's ham and cheese. I shook my head. Kid, you don't have to keep bringing me lunch. Yeah, but I want to. He grinned. Also, you still look kinda grumpy. I sighed and opened the lunchbox. Another note was tucked inside. Eat well and tell me a joke. I raised an eyebrow. Tell you a joke? Yep. I want to see if you're funny. I scoffed. I'm not. Try anyway. I sighed. All right. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Tommy's eyes lit up. Why? Because he was outstanding in his field. There was a beat of silence. Then Tommy exploded into laughter, kicking his feet against the bench. That's so dumb. I love it. I found myself chuckling. As I ate, Tommy kept firing off questions, barely giving me time to answer. Then, out of nowhere, so, do you get lonely? I nearly choked on my sandwich. What? You're old. Old people get lonely, right? I coughed, setting my sandwich down. Where do you get these questions? I think I'm up. He shrugged. Like this one, why is your hair white, but your mustache is still kinda dark? I instinctively touched my mustache. I don't know. Tommy nodded, as if I had just confirmed something important. And do you miss someone? I stiffened. What makes you say that? Tommy sipped his juice box. You sit here alone a lot. People who miss someone do that. For the first time in a long time, I didn't have a snappy response. I looked at Tommy, this little boy with an endless stream of questions and a heart too big for his small body. And then he grinned. But don't worry. I'm here now. Something in my chest tightened. I cleared my throat. You sure talk a lot, kid. Yep, he beamed. And I got more for tomorrow. Before I could say anything, he hopped off the bench and ran off, leaving me once again with an empty lunchbox and a head full of thoughts. The next few days followed the same routine. Every afternoon, like clockwork, Tommy would show up with a lunchbox, plop down beside me, and pepper me with endless questions. By now, I had stopped pretending I didn't look forward to it. It had become the best part of my day. One afternoon, he arrived in a particularly chatty mood. "Okay, mister," Tommy announced, swinging his legs as I opened the lunchbox. "Today, I have 3 very important questions." I took a bite of my sandwich and nodded. "All right, shoot." He held up a finger. 1. Have you ever been on TV? I snorted. "No, bummer." He held up a second finger. 2. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? I thought about it. Probably time travel. "Oh." Tommy's eyes widened. "Cool. Would you go back or forward?" "Back," I said immediately. That made him pause. "Why?" I hesitated, suddenly uncomfortable. But before I could answer, he was already moving on. "Okay, last question." He held up 3 fingers. "What's your last name?" That caught me off guard. "Why do you want to know?" Tommy shrugged. "Just curious." I took another bite of my sandwich. "Harrison." Tommy's face scrunched up. "Harrison," he tapped his chin, as if the name was familiar. A strange feeling crept into my gut. "What about you, kid?" I asked. "What's your last name?" "Bennett." I froze. The sandwich turned to dust in my mouth. My chest tightened. The world around me seemed to blur. Bennett. My son's last name. Michael Bennett. My son, whom I hadn't seen in years. I gripped the edge of the bench. My hands felt cold. My thoughts raced. This can't be happening. "Tommy," my voice came out hoarse. "What's your dad's name?" "Michael." I inhaled sharply. "Michael. My Michael. My son." And this boy, this bright, relentless, impossible little boy, was my grandson. My mouth went dry. My pulse pounded in my ears. Tommy kept swinging his legs, completely oblivious. "Hey, mister, are you okay? You look kind of funny." I couldn't speak. He was mine, my own flesh and blood, and I had spent weeks not knowing. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at Tommy, my mind spinning. I had a grandson, and I had wasted years being too stubborn to be part of his life. Finally, I forced myself to speak. "Tommy, does your dad ever talk about me?" Tommy tilted his head. "Not really. But Mom says you're important." I swallowed hard. "Mom says Dad forgives you," Tommy continued, sipping his juice box. "He just doesn't know how to say it." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Michael forgives me. All this time, I thought I had burned that bridge beyond repair. I thought my son hated me. But maybe he was just as lost as I was. Tommy suddenly grinned. "Hey, you should come to dinner tonight." I stared at him. "Dinner?" "Yeah." He nodded enthusiastically. "Mom makes the best spaghetti. And if you come, then Dad will have to talk to you." I let out a shaky breath. "I don't know, kid," Tommy pouted. "Why not?" I hesitated. Because I was afraid. Afraid to face my son. Afraid of what he might say. Afraid of all the years I had lost. But then Tommy did something unexpected. He reached over and grabbed my hand. His small fingers curled around mine, warm and steady. "It's okay," he said, looking up at me. "I found you. So, you don't have to be lost anymore." Something in my chest cracked wide open. I squeezed his hand. And then, for the first time in years, I let go of my fear. The walk to their house felt like the longest one of my life. When Tommy knocked on the door, my heart pounded. And when the door opened, when I saw Michael standing there, his eyes widening in shock, I realized something. I had been lost. But Tommy had found me. And for the first time in years, I was finally home.